Landman here. I study how people build financial ground and how it washes away when they're not looking. Every piece of land that is worth something has a boundary, not because the owner is hostile, not because the land needs to be defended from neighbors, but because without a boundary, the land has no defined edge, and without a defined edge, nothing can be built, nothing can be planted, and nothing can be protected. A boundary is not a wall. It is a declaration of what is yours, where it begins, and where it ends. It is the structural precondition for everything that grows inside it. Financial boundaries work the same way. They are not restrictions. They are not the financial equivalent of saying no to life. They are the structural precondition for accumulation. Without them, money flows in all directions with equal ease to wants and to needs, to future and to present, to goals and to habits. With them, the flow has direction. Deliberate, protected, compounding direction. And yet, the fence is the thing most people never build. Not because they don't understand its value. Not because they lack the intelligence to construct one. But because building a financial boundary requires something that the modern consumption environment is specifically designed to make difficult. It requires saying in advance, before the spending decision arrives, that certain ground is not available for this use. It requires pre-commitment. And pre-commitment feels, in the abstract, like deprivation. Like closing a door. Like becoming someone with less freedom rather than someone who is deliberately allocating freedom toward a specific destination. This is the psychology of the unbuilt fence. The person who intends to save after expenses are covered, who intends to invest once there is something left over, who intends to limit dining spending except for special occasions, which multiply, who intends to hold the line until the circumstances call for an exception, which they always do. The fence is always planned. The fence is rarely built. And the ground, without a fence, is open to everything that walks through. The research on pre-commitment in behavioral economics is extensive and consistent. People who automate savings before spending happens accumulate significantly more than people with identical incomes who intend to save from what remains. People who set a spending limit for a category before entering a store spend less than people who set the same limit in general terms without the pre-commitment structure. People who establish a concrete rule, not a goal, a rule for a specific financial behavior, are more likely to maintain that behavior through disruptive circumstances than people who rely on in-the-moment decision-making. The fence is not about willpower. It is about architecture. You build the fence before the cattle arrive, not while they are already in the field. Here is the specific failure mode that most financial content misses, and this is the controversial observation I want to make directly. Most financial advice is structured around goals. Save for retirement. Pay down debt. Build an emergency fund. These are worthwhile goals. They are also psychologically extraordinarily weak as behavioral structures, because a goal exists in the future. It is aspirational. It exerts a pull, a moderate, abstract pull against the very immediate, very concrete pull of present spending. And in almost every head-to-head contest between a future goal and a present want, across thousands of individual decisions per year, the present want wins more often than the goal. Not because people are weak. Because the present want has an immediacy and a specificity and a social context that the future goal simply does not have. A rule is different from a goal. A goal says, I want to save 30% of my income this year. A rule says, on the first of every month, 25% of my take-home income transfers automatically to a separate account before I see it or touch it. The goal requires a decision in every situation. The rule requires one decision once that then executes automatically. The goal is weak against present moment pressure. The rule is indifferent to present moment pressure because it does not involve the present moment. The fence is built before the cattle arrive. Let's run the numbers on the structural power of the pre-committed fence versus the intention-based goal. Household A and Household B each earn $90,000 annually. Both intend to save 20%. Household A operates on intention at the end of each month. They move whatever is left to savings. In practice, the average leftover is between 4 and 8% of income between $3,000 and $7,200 annually. Household B operates on a Rule 20% auto transfers on the first of each month before any other spending occurs. The full $18,000 is saved annually. Over 20 years at 7% return, Household A accumulates somewhere between $48,000 and $117,000 depending on the month. Household B accumulates over $700,000. Same income. Same stated intention. Different architecture. The fence is the difference. Landman's fence building protocol is for elements. The first is automation. Every financial boundary that can be automated must be automated. If the money reaches the checking account, it is already in play. The fence must be built upstream before the money arrives in the spendable account. The second element is specificity. A fence without a specific line is not a fence. Not a rough approximation. A specific dollar amount or a specific percentage that transfers on a specific date to a specific account. The vagueness of intention is the gap through which the cattle walk. The third element is friction by design. Any spending category that tends to exceed its intended limit should have a designed friction added to it: a separate card, a separate account, a cash envelope, any mechanism that makes the spending visible and deliberate rather than invisible and frictionless. The fourth element is review without renegotiation. The fence is reviewed annually not to be dismantled under emotional pressure, but to be adjusted for genuine changes in circumstances. The review is planned. The renegotiation is not. Most people, when they hear this framework, feel two things simultaneously. The first is recognition: yes, I've seen this work. The second is resistance: but my situation is different. My income varies, my circumstances are complex. And both responses are real. The income does sometimes vary. The circumstances are sometimes genuinely complex. But the fence works in variable income situations with percentage-based rules rather than fixed amounts. And the complexity of circumstances is almost always the reason the fence becomes more necessary, not less. The ground you do not protect does not stay yours. Not because anyone takes it from you. Because it erodes. Quietly. A dollar at a time. A frictionless tap at a time. An exception that felt reasonable at a time. Build the fence first. Plant inside it. The cattle will always come. The question is only whether the fence is up when they do. If this made you want to build one boundary today, even a small one, subscribe. That's all. Just subscribe. New ground here every week.